And thank you everyone who joined on the call. Please, as a reminder, use the raised hand icon if you have a question, and that way I know to call on you. We'll go ahead and get started with Doug McIntyre from Fox.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Hi, Ezra. Thanks so much for doing this.
How you doing, Doug?
Yeah, doing well. Appreciate the time as always. Just your thoughts on the overall start to the season. Last few games, have been better than the first few. Tough place to play in Atlanta. Do you expect Almada to be on the field? If so, how do you stop him? And is Shaqiri fit enough to start this weekend, do you think? Thank you.
Okay, so the season has started really well for us. We at a point where we feel like we're playing well, but we can do better. Better in the sense of finish out games a little stronger. And that has to do a little bit with the mentality side of things. Just being, tougher once we get up on a 2-goal lead with teams. I think a couple of times, especially at home, we've let teams come back in the games. We haven't lost at home, but we feel like a couple of those ties should have been wins for us. Shaq is eligible for selection. He's in training full, so there's a possibility he'll be on the pitch on Saturday. As far as Almada, it's just about he's a good player. It's about always knowing where he is on the pitch. He has that freedom to kind of pop up wherever he sees fit. So we just have to make sure as a team the communication is there and that we know where he's at all times, because he makes the game for him. And I expect that he will be on the pitch this weekend. So if he is, we'll be prepared.
Thanks, Ezra.
Thank you. Next, we'll go with Brian Sandalo from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Hey, Ezra, good afternoon. Thanks for making some time. Hope all is well with you. I guess just first, my usual question, what other than Shaqiri, what is the injury situation with Tehran, Jimenez, I guess Herbers too, and then Federico Navarro and Jairo Torres? Okay,
so Fedi is also in training. Tehran also is in training. Jimenez didn't train today, but we expect him to be back by this weekend. And Jairo Torres, he's probably the one that's a little bit still behind. We're hoping if the next couple of days he can, get through training, then he'll be available for Sunday. But the guys are on their way back. All but Torres probably will be featured this weekend.
Okay. And then I guess moving on to another topic, the transfer window, I believe, closes Monday. Are you expecting any further additions coming in before the window closes?
No, I don't think so. I think at this point, it'll probably be the summer window before we get some reinforcements. But, it's as is, we don't really want to rush. We've tried to make some moves. A couple of things fell through. So at this late hour, unless something changes drastically, it'll probably be the summer window before we get revisit the transfers.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Joe Chatz from On Tap Sportsnet.
Hi, Ezra. Thanks. Hope all is well. Ezra, I didn't see Kei at training today. Is everything all right with him?
Yeah, so he is going through protocol right now, concussion protocol. I don't know if you remember in the game, he kind of had the back of, I think it was Bedoya, possibly. But we expect him to be back in training in a couple of days. We just have to make sure that, everything is okay there with him. He doesn't have any symptoms or anything like that. So he's expected to be back probably by Friday training.
And if I may then ask, if he hypothetically weren't able to, would that be an opening for Shabilko to find his way back in, or Kutsias?
Well, yeah, I mean, even with Kei in training, it's an open situation there. We have 3 guys we think can compete on a week-to-week basis until, eventually one of them, grabs a hold of that spot. It's a good situation to have. It's something that we didn't quite have. Last year we either had Shabelko or we had Duran. We didn't have much more after that. We had some young guys who had never really played in the league, never really started in the league. So it's good to have, that situation where you have three guys who are all capable at any given day to step on the pitch and be effective.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Miguel AJ from ChicagoFireFC.com.
Hey, Ezra. Thanks for making some time.
How you doing?
Heading into the U.S. Open Cup match next week, can you talk through the tournament and what it means for the club to be a part of the competition and how important it is for us to get a victory under our belts?
Well, any competition that we enter as an organization, as a club, we want to do well. We want to win. And this is no different. But at the moment, our focus, at least for the next 4 or 5 days, is Atlanta and how we can fare in league play. This is a very important game for us on Sunday. It's a very good opponent at a very difficult place to play. And it's one of those games that can really, propel your season forward. So we're focused on Atlanta right now. However, we do know that the house is a team that we can't take lightly. We will enter the match with a strong team because we want to advance in that tournament also. But we're in a situation where we can't really start focusing on them quite as yet. But as soon as the game is finished on Sunday, trust me, the focus will shift towards them and how we can best put the strongest team out there to make sure that we get a victory and we move on in the tournament.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Larry Hawley from WGN.
Hey, Ezra, thanks for taking some time today. I'm just curious, having worked with him the last few months, what is the benefit you think Kei brings to some of the younger players or even just the club in general with all the experience that he has here in MLS?
Well, we've seen what he can do on the field, and it's something that he's shown all his years in the league. So we know about that. But off the field, he's a leader for us. He is a leader in the locker room. Like you said, we have a lot of young players that, he's always talking to, he's always encouraging, and he's just a good guy. He's a good person to have, especially when you have, young players such as like the Gutis and the Javier and Casas and guys like that, Misa Rodriguez, Victor Becerra, he's a guy that really, puts their arm around those guys. And, you always see him talking to them. Guti calls him grandpa, because, that's a sign of respect. It's someone that's kind of been there, done that. And so off the field, he's, an extension to the coaching staff as far as what he does in the locker room and helping, on the field with the players, especially the young ones.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Sandila, we'll go back to you.
Thank you. Just wondering, when Tehran went down Saturday, why you went to Kendall Burks instead of Wyatt Omsberg?
Well, I think we discussed it on the bench, and we thought Kendall, probably a little more pacier, would probably be a better fit for us in that position. I think Carlos fits Rafa really well because, he has some pace. He adds some pace to the back line when he's on there. So we thought, if we get Kendall on there, we'll, get some of that. And, we tried Wyatt the weekend before, and before that in Miami, it was Kendall. So we've kind of rotated who we've called upon in those two as far as to enter the match, to kind of close a game down or injury. So it's been kind of a rotating as far as those two goes. But the thought was, to get a more pacey guy out there because we knew Philly would start, coming under attack more frequently. So that was the reason behind that.
Okay. And is Wyatt completely healthy right now, coming off the foot surgery last year?
Yes, he had a bit of a tightness, upper leg tightness, but he's doing well and he's playable. There's no issues with him as far as health wise not playing.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Coach, for taking the time. Unless anyone wants to put their hand back up, I think we're good.
Thank you.
Today. Thank you. We'll be back shortly with Forward Kai. start with Brian Sandalo from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Kei, for making some time today. First, how you feeling? I know Ezra just said that you were in concussion protocol. How are you feeling right now?
I'm good. I was able to see my my kids in the past couple of days. They gave me lots of hugs and kisses, and spend some quality time. I'm good. I did some work today. Obviously, got on the treadmill, but it's a protocol, and this is really good that the league is doing this, and the teams are doing this, making sure that they're checking on us when something does happen with head collusion, because it's not just about today, but about years from now. So I'm respecting the protocol, but I feel good, and hopefully it's not like in the past.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then moving on to another topic. Another 2-goal lead didn't end up with 3 points last week. How do you guys kind of stop that from becoming a mental thing where it's like, oh, you guys are up 2-0, here we go again? How do you guys kind of stop that from happening?
Yeah, it's going to be a roller coaster of a season, really. But again, as you just said there, just mental strength and mental readiness to most of these things is what we have to do as players. We've been tested, obviously, early on in the season and into maybe 3 games, being in a really good, comfortable lead and not being able to finish it out. But again, in soccer, as they always say, 2-goal lead is the most dangerous lead you can take. But for us, really, we're just going to learn, through all these things. I know with the coaching staff, they're not, so happy. And even for us as players, we're not so happy in not being able to maximize, the points that we could get at home. But we can't dwell on it because, we still have a pretty good record here at home. And even in the season, yes, we're not in the best position where we would like to be. But we don't want to dwell on it. We want to build and learn from those mistakes, which we have watched videos this morning coming back to training. And hopefully we can learn to move forward.
Thank you. Next, we will go to Doug McIntyre from Fox.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Hi, Kei. Thanks for doing this. Two for me, if you will. I know how much you enjoyed your time in Montreal from speaking to you last year. Just curious how the trade went down from your perspective and how you've enjoyed Chicago. You're the 10th MLS city you've played in. What it's been like there so far, and just in terms of the record. I mean, you're getting closer to that all-time mark. I know you want to focus on the team rather than individual goals, but what would it mean to you to be the all-time leading scorer in MLS history? Thanks so much.
Thanks, Doug. I think that's 3.5 questions, but
Yeah.
I'll let you slide. I'm happy being here in Chicago. Really, I'm happy being here. Remember before going over to Montreal, I did have my agent reach out to Chicago last year and ask if there was, any interest. Obviously, it wasn't. So I'm happy to be here now. And, everything happens for a reason. Really just coming here now and seeing the younger players and, being part of this locker room and being able to help on and off the field. It's really something I'm going to focus on to doing that. Montreal is in the past. Love the city, love the people. The fans are amazing. Love the players I was able to share the locker room with. And, some of the ones that left and went overseas. But to really be here in Chicago, for example, right when I got traded or moved here to Chicago, I remember getting a text message from Georgie Mihailovich and just telling me that, hey, you're going to love Chicago, or even his father reaching out to me, say, hey, this is going to be a great city for you. So that's the best thing about it. But yeah, I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm just going to focus into, playing, and I'm not going to count how many teams I've played on. It's fun for other guys around me to say, hey, how many more teams are going to play for the whole league? I'm not going to count that. I'm just happy to be playing, continue playing. And hopefully, I'm still in the quest for MLS Cup that hasn't reached me yet. So, I'm driven every day.
Thanks. And just in terms of the record, you probably forgot because that was one of the last of my 3 questions. Thanks, guys.
I'm a striker. I have a short memory, so it's just not the concussion. When you say goals and records, it's just comes and go. No, I'm just I'm honored to be able to do what I love doing and be able to be up there with those guys, but, it's a lot of respect. There's a lot of hard work, and it's not just about the goals, but, the teams and the guys that, pass me these balls to score these goals. But, I'm focused. I'm really not focused on that because, again, it's not a far reach for, being next and next in line. It's not a far reach for me. But like I said, my bigger goal is it's not just, to score goals, but it's also to win games.
Fair enough. Good luck, Kei. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will go to Miguel AJ from ChicagoFireFC.com.
Hey, Kei. Heading into the game against Atlanta, what do you think the team has learned in the past couple of games, given that results haven't gone the way that the team would have liked?
Thank you. I think we've learned a lot. We've learned, obviously, we got our first win, on the road, and, gotten a tough result in Philadelphia. Wasn't easy to going out there and being, players down. So we learned a lot. And even the way we've played at home to close out games, again, still under 10 games in the season. And these are the things you learn the first 10 games of the season. So hopefully we're able to translate that and go into Atlanta, which it's a tough place to play. It's artificial turf. That's one, and the stadium different. Everything is going to be different than playing in Atlanta. And the team, at the same time, they do have a lot of firepower. But again, it's up to us to continue to play our game and believe in ourselves, and that's what we're working on over here. We do have our style of play. And hopefully, if we can just, continue to work on our style of play and close out the games, then it's going to be good for us.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. We will go, unless anyone else wants to put their hand back up, last question to Larry Hawley from WGN.
Hey, Kei, thanks for taking some time today. I'm curious, as you've been in the league and now you come to this locker room, what's the thing you enjoy the most about being a leader? And what are the lessons you want to give to younger players, not only for longevity in the league, but also to help the team, find success here and rise to the top of MLS?
It's been an honor, really, to have played most of my career here in MLS and knowing the system about, the different season which we play, winter, spring, fall, every summer, and just being able to tell the guys to be ready for this and prepare for this, or just the travels, how we travel, which is so much better now with all our charters and the transition into games or altitudes or in different time zones. But at the same time, I think my most important message I always pass on to some of these guys around me is consistency. It's not everybody wants to, how do you keep doing this, year after year? I say consistency. It's always been my key. How can you stay consistent in everything you're doing? And it's not just on the weekends, games after games, but it's every day when I come to training. When I'm here at training and I'm working the same as I did yesterday, with a smile on my face, it's just showing that, you got to be consistent in what you're doing. It's not taking days off, because being a pro, it's easy. Sorry. Easy is not the word to say it's easy to be a pro. But, a lot of guys are going to get opportunity to get drafted from college or homegrown from academies to be signed into professional contracts. But now it's, what are you going to do with that? How consistent are you going to be, to make sure that you know how to be a pro? And hopefully I'm able to, pass that along to some of these guys, because it's not about being a pro, but knowing how to be a pro.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was a fantastic message to end the press conference. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yay.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
Have a good day, everybody.